everyone, today we are going to talk about Tisha. She explains, when I was in boarding school, I was about 13 years old. I remember listening to other girls in my family talking about their period. They all started, and I was embarrassed by the fact that I didn't. I was ashamed that puberty had not officially started that day. I lied when they asked me if I had menstruation. I felt stressed and told them that I had come so that I could enjoy a month of fun without swimming lessons like everyone else. The problem was that the lie didn't stop there. I badly wanted to believe it all was true, and I told my mom my period had started. Although I think it all was stupid, I just wanted to fit into the club. 2 years later, I was 15 and my period still hadn't arrived. It was playing on my mind, not least because my mom had needlessly been buying me sanitary products, which had been lying unused for the past 24 months. So one day, when my mom drove me to hospital after I'd broken my hand, I blurted it all out. I told her the truth, and while I was scared she'd be angry on my lie, it was a relief to let it all out. In reality, she wasn't in the least bit angry, and actually found it quite funny that I'd lied. She, like me, assumed my missing period was no big deal. But a year later, when my friends began losing their virginity, and I still hadn't had my first period, I grew more concerned. I didn't even know if I could have sex if I'd never had a period, which made me panic about being left behind even further. I felt like I wasn't a real woman. So we went to the doctor, and after a lot of back and forth with several medical experts who couldn't understand what the problem was, I was sent for an ultrasound, where they spotted some. "Oh, you don't seem to have anything inside you," the doctor said, which was a pretty insensitive way of telling me I had been born with no uterus, no cervix, only one ovary, and a vagina which looks normal on the outside, but doesn't really exist inside. It's basically just a wall in there. Eventually, I was diagnosed with Mayer-Rokitansky-Kuster-Hauser syndrome, MRKH, an incredibly rare disease caused by a problem with development in the womb. But it took a while to get there. They sent me for test after test and scan after scan to get the final diagnosis, and I even had a hormone test to check that I was actually female. When you're 16 and your gender is called into question, it's hard to deal with. You don't really know who you are as it is, without worrying about a huge part of your identity being brought into question. It's psychologically damaging. They found out that I was biologically female, but it didn't stop me wondering what the point of my existence was. I kept thinking, am I a real girl if I can't have sex and I can't carry a child? It was horrible. There was a lot of information to take in. There's a slim chance my one ovary could be viable to produce eggs, but I won't find that out until I start looking into IVF when I'm ready to have children. It also became very apparent that I couldn't have sex like a normal person could. My GP drew it all out for me and talked me through my options. If I wanted to have sex, I'd need to undergo a dilation process which involves a very heavy, clinical-looking, horrible medical dildo, and would be incredibly painful. I pushed my MRKH to the back of my mind while I did my exams, but there were times it would creep up on me, like when I'd be at a party, and would watch all my friends go off with boys. I couldn't help thinking that even if I wanted to do that, I couldn't. It made me not want to go near boys at all. Effing unusual. Eventually though, a friendship with a guy from school turned into something more, and I was forced to address it. After 2 months of dating, it got to the stage where sex was being mentioned, so I just had to come right out and tell him. I was terrified he wouldn't want to be with me if I couldn't have sex with him yet, but he was amazing and wasn't fazed by it all. When I was referred to Queen Hospital in London for expansion treatment, we had been together for about a year. When I was 18, I had to go to the hospital for a week, where I inserted the dilator regularly for 8 hours a day. It was uncomfortable. The dilator feels like a heavy bottle of water, and you start with 1/2 the thickness of a pen, eventually working up to 1 the size of a penis, so you kind of create a vagina for yourself that can accept penetration. You have to use this horrible gel stuff that numbs everything because it's so painful. You have to move and twist the dilator, which was not only complete agony, but makes you feel dirty as well. Obviously it shouldn't, but it does. The whole experience is long and complicated, clinical, and horrible. In the end, my vagina was bruised, bleeding and raw, but you can't stop. This is the worst thing. You have to do this, but you are not doing it to recover from illness or anything else. You just do it for yourself. After a week of such self-pain, you certainly realize how determined you are. Luckily, I had a nurse called Nuala there to help me through it. She was hilarious, and I felt comfortable around her, which was important because it's such an intimate and emotional thing. I remember every day I would cry for the first hour, and then I'd be laughing at how ridiculous the situation was, and how hilariously embarrassing it was that all my friends and family knew I was in hospital going through all this pain just so that I could have sex. Nuala helped me with my worries about what sex would feel like for the first time by telling me to get myself a beautiful set of lingerie. I remember standing there in my underwear and feeling so powerful that I was finally able to do this for myself when I was ready. I guess that's a bonus in some way. I know a lot of my friends regret losing their virginity and wish that it had been something more special. For me it was, because I knew it was with someone who truly loved and supported me. The worst thing about MRKH is that, because I'm in a long-distance relationship, my boyfriend still lives in Paris while I'm studying at Oxford. My vagina is like a muscle, basically, and if I don't exercise it regularly enough, it'll go back to how it was before. It's not like I want to have a one-night stand. I'm in a happy relationship, but it's the fact that I'll never get the choice or the sexual freedom to do that. That in itself makes me realize how lucky we are to live in a society where women have such liberation now. Years ago we didn't have that, and in some countries that's still the case. Women are defined by their ability to have a child, and their ability to make a home, and I can see how that can be so damaging, because if I had been born into any of those societies, I would be regarded as useless. I feel so lucky that I'm dealing with MRKH now, in a first world society where having a career and so many other things are just as important for women as their sexuality and their ability to have a family. For a while I didn't believe that. I felt so bereft, like I wasn't a woman in society's eyes. I can't have a child, I can't have sex, what am I supposed to use my body for? Is there any point in me having a body? But I don't think like that now. It took me a while to get there, but now I know what I can achieve. I feel lucky to have been born exactly